Social Security, Biden and Bernie had a meeting. I have all the details and what they talked about, as well as why this is so encouraging right here in the video. So let's get right into it. All right, now this is an important update in regards to Social Security, as President Biden and Bernie Sanders had a meeting specifically focused on Social Security, and it's actually pretty encouraging. So I do want to talk about the details of their meeting, what they talked about, and what this means for Social Security beneficiaries. Let's get right into it. However, really fast before we do, thank you so much for joining me. If you're new here or if you haven't done so yet, please make sure to subscribe by hitting the button right down below the video, as it's totally free to do so, and because I am your one and only daily advocate. Not only that, because we are rapidly approaching 500,000 subscribers right here on the channel, and it is my dedication, my commitment, and my promise to you and everybody right here in the community to continuously be here right by your side every single day, watching all this new information hitting the wire, doing the necessary research, and breaking it all down into these short videos so you can see how all of this is going to impact you, your money, your benefits, your lifestyle, your bank account, and of course anything showing up right now you can possibly grab and or take advantage of. So again, thanks so much for joining me. I'm here for you every single day, no matter what, to help you out as much as I possibly can. So again, please subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet, and let's get into it and talk about the details of President Biden and Bernie Sanders and their meeting focused on Social Security. This is pretty cool stuff, because let's be real for a second. When was the last time that a senator had a face-to-face, one-on-one meeting with the president in regards to Social Security? I'm going to be real with you. Not sure if this has happened in a very, very long time, but this is actually pretty good stuff, because here's the thing. We all know Bernie Sanders, right? You can't miss the guy. I mean, seriously, let's be real for a second. He makes a lot of noise, right? He gets a lot of attention, and he's also a pretty big advocate for expanding Social Security. Now, whether or not what he's actually doing is actually going to come into fruition or not, we don't really know that quite yet, but we do know a couple things. Out of all the different lawmakers out there, Bernie Sanders is certainly one of them that wants to expand Social Security by giving a $200 per month raise. Does that get your attention a little bit? Yeah, I think it gets all of our attention, because right now, does everybody need an extra $200 a month? I think the answer is yes, but realistically, I think that $200 needs to turn to like $400 or $500 a month. But at this point, I think $200 would certainly be better than nothing, right? So at the end of the day, let me talk through the meeting here, what they discussed, and what Bernie Sanders is trying to convince President Biden to jump on board with him about. It all comes down to Bernie Sanders' bill, the Social Security Expansion Act. Now, yes, I have talked about this in other videos, but let me break down the details of this, because Bernie Sanders is trying to give President Biden a hard sell on his bill here and what it would mean for the American people who rely on Social Security benefits, and what it would mean for Social Security as a whole. All right, so obviously, if you've been watching the videos here on the channel for any length of time now, you know that Social Security has some major financial issues ahead of them, as in Social Security insolvency. In other words, more money is being paid out through benefits than what is coming in through Social Security payroll taxes. As a result of that, the program and the trust fund is slowly depleting, and it will be empty at some point in about 10 years. Actually, it's about 9 years now, according to the most recent reports out of the CBO, Congressional Budget Office. So we're looking at about 9 years until the Social Security Administration and the trust fund is totally depleted. In other words, they'll have to cut benefits in a significant way. So Bernie Sanders and President Biden are meeting, as in they had their meeting, and they talked about Social Security. So Bernie Sanders is really trying to sell President Biden on this new prospect of the Social Security Expansion Act. In other words, implementing a few different things here. Let me talk you through the details of this bill, what it would actually contain, and why Bernie is trying to sell Biden so hard on this bill. Here's what it contains, a few things. Number one, raising taxes on higher income individuals. So as of right now, in 2023, the maximum taxable earnings on Social Security is $160,200. In other words, everybody who earns up to $160,200 this year in 2023 pays taxes to Social Security on that income. All of that income is taxable by Social Security. Any income above that level, the $160,200, is no longer taxable by Social Security. Well, Bernie Sanders is having a hard time with that, okay? Bernie Sanders is having a really tough time accepting the fact that all income above that level is no longer taxable by Social Security. He's thinking, wait, this is an opportunity that's being completely lost right now, as higher income people could be being taxed a lot more. And Bernie Sanders loves taxes, right? He loves raising taxes. He loves taxing people, especially higher income people. So that's what he wants to do here, is he wants to implement a tax, or he wants to increase taxes, as in for higher income individuals. So here's what his plan would do. And then I'm going to explain this here for just a second, and then we'll get into talking about the other parameters as well, including the $2,400 boost or $200 per month raise to benefits. I'll get to that here in just a second. All right, so basically what he wants to do is create a donut hole effect with the payroll taxes on Social Security. So like I said, as of right now in 2023, all income up to $160,200 is taxable by Social Security. Any income above that is no longer taxable. Bernie wants to reinstitute or reinstate these Social Security payroll taxes at $250,000 and above. So there'd be like this donut hole effect. All income is taxable up to the $160,200, no taxes between $160,200 and $250,000, and then all income above $250,000, it's all taxable by Social Security. There's also some talk as well by possibly taxing like investment income or dividend income and things like this as ordinary income. In other words, being taxable by Social Security as well. So that's a whole nother ball game, but we can talk about that in a separate video. That is not the primary focus. But basically what he wants to do is reinstate a payroll tax that would be payable to Social Security as a result of any income above $250,000. So this would really, really tax higher income individuals a lot more, and it would bring a lot more payroll taxes, or basically income, into Social Security and the trust fund. So that is basically what it comes down to as his hallmark, kind of plan there as far as the Social Security Expansion Act. Now, as a result of that, by raising taxes as well, this would also push out insolvency, according to him, out until 2096. So basically the end of this century is how much more this would push out the insolvency for Social Security. As of right now, it's sitting at 2032. In other words, in 9 years from right now, Social Security will be insolvent, according to the most recent reports out of the CBO. So according to Bernie Sanders, it would push out the insolvency for about 75 or so years, out until essentially the end of this century. That is what his plan would be. So that is next in his agenda. Next, it would also implement a $200 per month raise to millions of Social Security beneficiaries. $200 per month, or $2,400 more per year. Now that's an interesting concept as well, because here's the thing. For a lot of people, even a $200 per month raise, yes, it would raise benefits, but yet it would still be well below the federal poverty line, because remember, the federal poverty line this year has yet again been increased to a little bit over $1,200 a month. Well, it would bring people a lot closer to the federal poverty line, but ultimately, a lot of people would still be below the federal poverty line. And we know the president has said it before, no older adults or people with disabilities should ever need to live in poverty in America. Well, it'd get close, but again, it would not be completely at the federal poverty line. So this would help out a lot, but it would still fall a little bit short. But don't get me wrong, we would all certainly want and take that $200 per month, right? Yeah. So that is also in there as well. It would also institute a 15% increase for lower income earners as well. So it would increase benefits by about 15% for lower income wage earners as well. So these are some of the kind of key factors within the Social Security Expansion Act. And this is what Bernie Sanders was talking to President Biden about, trying to sell him on this plan and saying, hey, you got to jump on board with this thing. We can raise taxes. And we all know, you dangle the carrot of raising taxes in front of the president's face, and he'll be all on board with that, right? He loves raising taxes. And again, I'm not here to bash anybody. In particular, I'm here to bash everybody all at the same time. You know what I mean? Which, by the way, if you've been watching the videos here on the channel for any length of time now, I do not take political sides in my videos, but rather I like to go after everybody kind of equally, because they could all do a little bit better, right? They all need to strive for a little bit higher limits in Congress, because let's just be real for a second. They all could be doing a lot more for the American people right now, and they're virtually doing nothing, right? But the whole idea behind this was for Bernie Sanders to sell his plan of the Social Security Expansion Act to the president so that he could also start pitching this plan as well, and ultimately to try to get this through Congress. So that would be the ultimate thing. Now remember this much as well. This cannot be passed through executive order. President Biden cannot do this through executive order. It would need to be done through Congress, okay? So the whole idea is now, Can we get this through Congress? Well, they're not going to know unless they try. I mean, that's just like the fact of life with virtually everything else that we do as well. You never know unless you try, right? I know, not really what we all want to talk about, not necessarily the thing that all of us want to face, but at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to for virtually everything in life. You just got to try, and you never know. Sometimes you get a little bit surprised because things happen that we may thought never would have happened in the first place. So that is what it comes down to. So, kind of interesting that Bernie Sanders was meeting with the president to bring up this plan, as this is getting a little bit more traction out there. So, we'll have to see what happens here, but this is a plan that Bernie Sanders introduced, I don't know, what was it, May or June of last year, so almost a year ago now. Bernie Sanders introduced this plan for the first time, and now he just reintroduced it about, I don't know, a month and a half or so ago. He reintroduced this plan. So, here he is yet again out with this, and he's pushing hard, and we all know Bernie, right? You got to watch Bernie. Whether you like him or you don't like him, it doesn't really matter. You got to watch Bernie Sanders. Now, here's some other details as well. According to some other reports out there, they are suggesting that over the next 30 years, if no action is taken, Social Security is going to run a shortfall of about $21 trillion. Not 21 billion, not 21,000, not $21, but $21 trillion. That's how much Social Security is going to have a shortfall over the next 30 years, according to these reports as well, if nothing is done with Social Security. So you can see there, $21 trillion, that is a massive, massive amount of money. Just considering right now in the United States is in debt by about $31.4 trillion. So that is a ton of money, right? So anyway, if nothing is done, that's what the shortfall is going to be according to the reports. Anyway, this is what the meeting comes down to as far as President Biden and Bernie Sanders, and I want to bring this to your attention. So I'll continue watching this one very closely, as you never know. Bernie might be getting some traction on this thing. Again, he introduced it almost a year ago now, but again, it takes a long time, right? A lot of these bills, packages, and proposals coming out of Congress, usually they come out, they're introduced, and a lot of times they just kind of go to the side and say, well, maybe someday we'll revisit this. Well, here we are, about a year, well, almost a year later here, revisiting this plan that was introduced by Bernie last year. So, I don't know. Maybe it looks a little bit encouraging here that he's bringing this to the president, he's talking about it, and again, you always got to watch Bernie Sanders because you never know what he's going to bring up. And again, this might be pretty encouraging for fixed income beneficiaries. So, for all the people out there saying, oh no, the $200 per month raise is gone. For right now, you're right, it's not happening as of right now, as in it has not been passed yet, but they're certainly getting some attention on this thing, okay? We cannot dismiss this quite yet and say it's totally gone. We can't say that yet. You just never know, right? Bernie Sanders is working on this thing diligently, and we got to see what comes out of this. Either way, I'll continue watching it closely. The $200 per month raise may still be alive here, and again, I will keep you posted on any further details. So please make sure to subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet. Share the video with your friends, family, social media, and go back and check out any of the other thousands of videos here on the channel. Until next time, enjoy your day, take care, and catch you again later in the next video.